Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to AWS Security Pune's own first virtual event of 2024, that is AWS Security Hub, hosted by AWS Security Hub. So get ready for this exciting week where we'll be joining us live on YouTube and LinkedIn for exciting sessions and industry experts learn from remote security professionals sharing their thoughts and insights and practical tips, along with the community contributors hearing from your fellow AWS users about their experiences, security tools, and best practices. You'll get a chance to get your questions answered from the experts, as well as you can discuss between them. This will be kind of interactive way to interact with your speakers as well. So for today, we have Kirti with us, who will be talking about AWS Security Hub, and we will be going through quick demos as well for the Security Hub. So, Kirti is AWS Technical Account Manager from Delhi, and she will be helping us to understand what is the basics of AWS Security Hubs, and she will help us to deep dive into the concepts of AWS Security Hub as an interactive demo as well. So, over to you, Kirti.
Thanks, Vishal. Hi, all. My name is Kirti Dhabhai. Thanks, Vishal, for the little introduction. So, I have been with AWS for almost 3 years now, and I work as technical account manager handling large scale account. I am also part of security technical community in AWS. I'm happy to be here today, and we'll be discussing Security Hub and would see its console walkthrough. So I won't bore you. There are not lot much of papery, but we would be discussing the basic what why we designed this service, what was the requirement, and what you can get through it. So the agenda is to discuss those challenges, why we designed this service, and then what is security hub, how you can elevate your security with AWS Security Hub, and even its use case we can may discuss at the end of this presentation. But first I'll go through all those basic introduction kind of thing, and then we'll discuss the console in detail. And I have done few demo in it, so let's go through it. So yeah, let's begin with the need of this service. So as customer grow their cloud footprint with more accounts and resources, they need to adjust and manage the security settings for different part of organizations. In additions, like when security teams are deploying different solutions to address different areas in security, each solution is having its own format and level of information. So you might have heard of OCSF, which is very common standard which industry follows. And in AWS we do follow some standards like Amazon kind of thing, which is ASFF. So these solutions often generate too many alerts. So the volume along with lack of expertise and context make it hard to prioritize and know what is important. Like you have multiple service, you have guard duty, you have detective, you have inspector, but you have to go through individual console to see those findings. So those were the problem we try to address for the customer. One is like lack of visibility. Customers have different level of security experts and maturity using cloud infrastructure. They need help in identify potential security risk that stems from misconfiguration. So for that we needed a single source of truth. Our customer needed a single source of truth. So that's why this service was designed in a single console. Those integrations were done not just from the AWS services, but from our AWS partners, which are third party tools. And if you have those integrations enabled, if you all have already those using in your environment, you can just integrate with Security Hub, and then you can see those findings and on a single console as well. You can have one single administrator console where you can see all those findings of other accounts, also the delegated administrator kind of stuff. Third thing you can get is it also generates its own calculation in terms of standards. Like if you are aware of Security Hub console, there are 4 to 5 standards now in the console: AWS foundational best practices, PCI DSS 1, NIST 1. Those are the things you just need to enable those standard. Under those standard there are some controls and some checks, so it will check all the resources enabled in their account for that particular standard, and it evaluates if some checks fail. It will publish the score on the console. We'll see that in detail once we move through the console part. And then the problem of getting too many alerts gets solved. And even we do have integration with the event bridge service. That means if you want to take any custom action, if you want to run any script, for example, you get some alert in guard duty that some instance was compromised, and you get that in Security Hub, and then you can place that custom action to isolate that particular instance. So those kind of capability we solved by designing this service. So when we discuss about Security Hub, the main purpose of it is to develop the thinking of detection and response services. So there are other detection and response services which gets integrate with Security Hub. So let's discuss with. In AWS, you get a suite of services to enhance your security posture and streamline security operation across your AWS environment, like GuardDuty, which is threat detection service, Macy, which discover the sensitive data. Inspector can scan your containers and EC2 instance to detect any kind of software vulnerabilities. Security Hub, all those things get integrated into it. Even it also runs the automate security checks in form of those standards, and it centralize those alerts in a single console. Also, when you have guard duty, you can enable detective to investigate events and findings. So, uh, like if you haven't heard of Macy, it focuses on sensitive data discovery such as PII, PHI, PCI, safeguarding against unauthorized access, and these services complement each other in a layered security strategy. So basically, when you have Security Hub in place, it will centralize all these findings, including threat detection, vulnerability scan, data identification from the Macy, and it automates a compliance check and highlights these misconfiguration. And when you add detective, when you use Amazon Detective, it aids in investigating findings by providing a unified way and contextual details. So you can say we do have one more service which is Security Lake. You should also read about that, which centralized security data from various sources, enabling trend analysis and proactive risk management. But let's focus on Security Hub right now. We can discuss all other services in upcoming session, I hope. So basically, Security Hub is our CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management Service. It's a fully managed cloud CSPM service. Like you cannot add any logs to it. It picks it from the backend. You just have to enable it. It continuously performs security best practices checks across the AWS infrastructure. You just have to enable that particular standard. Secondly, it seamlessly aggregates and normalizes those findings from AWS and even third party services. So, under the integrations, we will see what third party integrations are there, and even you can like use the delegated administrator thing to find and to aggregate findings across accounts and regions as well. And it's very easy to deploy security hub across your organization, like just with a few clicks. You do not have to set up any logs, you do not have to set up any bucket for that. With a few click in console or even using cloud formation, you can enable it across all your accounts in the organization, and you can ensure that every new account added is also covered. And if you use organization kind of setup, AWS kind of setup, then every new account would be added, would be enabled for Security Hub. So we often hear customers commenting on Security Hub scalability and particularly. So it's able to perform misconfiguration checks and aggregate the findings across it. So this would be the finding flow. Yeah. As I mentioned, we do have standards like PCI DSS, NIST, AWS Foundational Best Practices, which is FSBP. It also has CIS version 2.0 and 4.0 Foundation Benchmark 1. And as it's aggregating those services findings, so there is service managed standards also. And on the console, you can see these kind of findings it can ingest from AWS Config, which is your inventory management kind of service, Guard Duty, which is threat detection, Amazon Inspector, which is software vulnerability, identity access and IAM, identity and access management, Macy, which discovers the sensitive data, firewall manager, which does protect your environment against those firewall. So security will generate those findings by conducting the best practices checks, and checks are organized into the control. So I won't confuse you with this terms checks, control, standard. I'll show you in the console. But just you can say a measure or safeguard prescribed for resource designed to meet a set of defined security requirement. Controls are designed, so control belong to different security and compliance standard. So today's Security Hub has, I guess, more than 290 controls performed against 80 different AWS resource type, and controls are then grouped into those standards. And we see customer using widely using this AWS foundational security best practices, which is AWS recommendation on what best practices should be followed for different AWS services and resources. But if your organization is following the standards like CIS, PCI DSS, or NIST, you should also enable these industry standards using Security Hub, and you can gauge your security posture score. And then once you have those findings integrated, then you can take the remediation action. As I mentioned, we do have integration with Event Bridge. So through Event Bridge, you can trigger either AWS Lambda function, you can trigger AWS System Manager automation document if you have written anything to remediate, for example, any kind of patching, if you want to stop instance. These are kind of activity you can define in these resources. Even it has integration with the AWS step functions. So now, once you have all those findings at the place, you also have the capability to remediate it. You just have to write the simple script for that. Even there are good blogs around it if you want to get started, like what all actions you can take, and I'll show you some in today's demo. So these are AWS partners. You can take action with them also. Like if you we do have integration with Slack if you want to trigger any workflow. We do have integration with Splunk, Nessus, and many more. I'll show you those integrations. So this is just the conclusion. Like automating security tasks on AWS enables you to be more secure by reducing human configuration errors and giving your team more time to focus on other critical work to your business. So there is always a thing like security teams. There are security teams in customer, but using these tools, you can do the automation and risk reduction. So this is the great benefit which security helps provide. Select from a wide variety of deeply integrated solutions that can be combined to automate tasks in novel ways, making it easier for your security teams to work closely with developer and operation teams to create and deploy code faster and more securely. So how, for example, if you're developer team is doing something on AWS instance and they didn't follow any best practices. So now security team will have those alerts in place using this automation. So, for example, like by employing technologies like machine learning, AWS also enables you to automatically and continuously discover, classify, and protective sensitive data in AWS with just few clicks. If somebody has put something in S3 which is quite sensitive, so if you enable the security hub guard duty, you would be able to detect that. You have to enable MECI for that as well. So you can we can say like you can also automate infrastructure and application security checks to continuously check your security compliance controls, and you can ensure the integrity and availability of that all the times. So automation is that's why very necessary. It can do the threat detection remediation as well. Like we have seen the capability of security hub to do all this. So how customer use security hub? These are the four use cases. So first one is to conduct the CSPM. Uh, so it's a cloud security posture management. So you can reduce your risk with automated checks based on collection of the security controls curated by experts and simplify the compliance management like built-in mapping capabilities for common frameworks like CIS, PCI DSS, and more. So AWS foundational best practices is result of what we has experienced from our customers. So now we know what all best practices you need to follow. So if you do not follow any particular type of standard, you can just enable the AWS foundational one. Second use case where customer use the security hub is to integrate security orchestration, automation, response workflows, SOAR workflows. So it automatically enriches the findings, remediate them, or send them to ticketing with security hubs integration with event batch. Even if you use ServiceNow and all of that, that integration is quite possible with security hub. It saves time and money by simplifying the integrations. So it's streamlining the data ingestion from different security services, and it can also streamline the data ingestion into your SIM solution, which is security information and event management ticketing tool, and even other tools by integrating uh, by doing integration between AWS services and your downstream tool, that can be done. So fourth use case is you can visualize the security findings at a one place to discover new insights. For example, something is being there which is highlighted in guard duty console, and for that some you can see useful information in detective. But if you have a single console, if you have a single source of truth, then at a single place you can visualize all those security findings, and you can make conclusion exactly what happened and where all happened. So this was a quick PPD presentation. Let me know if you have any questions. We can get start with the console. So this is basically security hub console. You just have to search at security hub and you will land to this page, which is the summary page. This summary page will give you overview of security and compliance status of your AWS account. Let's see if for me you can see the score is 0%. I yeah, so score will be available in few minutes because before the demo only I just enabled it for, but these are the five standards you can see on the screen. Foundational best practices CIS 1, CIS foundational 1.4, nest special publication. You just have to click on disable or enable. So this is already enabled, so that's why you can see this disable button. So you can even view results. In the view results, it will show all the checks which are there, its severity, its ID, the detail, if the checks are failed or not, and the custom parameters if are any. So for now there is no data because I have like enabled it uh, just before the presentation, but if you already have enabled it, like it may take 30-40 minutes to show you that data. So yeah, let's wait for it's saying the score will be available in 9 minutes, so let's wait for 9 minutes. Till then, let's see other things on the console. So as I mentioned, it can take few minutes to review. Now let's go to the control console. So in the control console, you will see the security score. So it's still being generated. There is no data for now, but we have enabled 305 checks, as you can see on your screen. Security standards I have mentioned, and now there is insights. So insights are just a safe filter. So there are 35 filters, which is sample kind of thing, which AWS have created for you to integrate all those uh, small findings in form of a filter. For example, AWS resources with most findings. You can see like what are the these, you can see like this is the instance, it's creating 36 kind of findings. So you can gauge, oh, this is the problematic instance, you have to take some action and click on it, then it will give the details of everything. For example, uh, inspector is giving the data like port 80 is reachable from internet. This is the new kind of finding. It also gives you under the product tab, it gives you the detail which service has generated that particular finding. So for the instance, you can see every finding is generated from the inspector, and it says like these vulnerabilities are there. Port 22 is also reachable, port 23 is reachable. Some Java CV is also been highlighted here. So you can just click on any of the finding, then you can even take actions on it. For example, there are 3 to 5 people working in a same team, they have access to this console. Now if I have worked on it, then you can just click on it, notified. Even if you think this is not relevant, this is some kind of false positive, you are doing some testing, that's why that been highlighted, you can suppress it. If you have take action on it, just click on the resolve. For example, like I click on this one, then if I click on the resolve, it will change the workflow status, like that particular finding is being taken care of. And you may create your own filter also. Yeah, so go to the insights, create insights, then you can add the filter. Like for example, if I want to see the findings related to particular account name, account ID only, if I want to create a insight for some container name, just click on it, just provide the value, click on apply, you would be able to create a new insight for yourselves. But these 35 insights which I was showing is quite you can say example insights which are the default ones. So for example, credential that may have leaked, click on it, this is kind of a security hub insight where any sensitive data identification is there, it would highlight you. So there was none for me, that's why it's not showing. In the findings you can see all kind of findings without any filter. So see, I have applied this is other default filter. If any workflow is new, if any finding is new, if any record state is active, which means if still that issue is there, then you can see all those things. So you can under the product you would be able to see the service name. Under the company, like this is generated from the guard duty, so company name you would show Amazon, but if you have done other integrations, it will show those other names also. So see, as you can see you can see different findings here, and you can suppress this. And what all other things we get is updated at, so you will get the information when this findings was generated, and then you can get the compliance status. So obviously if there is some issue, it would be failed, so you can click on the findings as well. and then you can create a rule. For example, if you are doing some kind of testings, so you can create some custom rule. If some kind of findings come, what action you need to take. So for that, you can see we have defined different rule type, like what was the id generated, what was the company name, what is the compliance standard. So you can apply these filters, you can put this criteria to make your job easy if you are doing some testing and if you are thinking you are getting false positive. Yeah, so let's move on the integrations part of it. So you can see those many integrations are there from these services. So you just need to click on stop accepting findings if you want to disable any service from the security. If you don't wish to see those findings, you just click on the stop accepting findings. Click on I want to stop it, and it will just it will not accept findings. You won't be able to see those findings from firewall manager into the console. And when we say about the third party, so see, you can see you have integration with alert logic, which is very common sim. That means through security hub, it can ingest the data into the sim solution alert logic. We do have integration with Aqua Security Suite, which includes Aqua Security, QPinch, Armor, Obsgeny. Jira is very normal ticketing tool, right? If something high alert comes in, if you want to generate a ticket through Jira, if you want to create some story, if you want to work, you just have to purchase the subscription. That is a particular thing, and the payment would be dependent on the third party. Like if you want to know the payment detail, just click on the purchase. It will redirect you to the marketplace. Now click on the get it on, and you would have to fill the formalities and pay the bill, and then you would be able to configure it. So we do have integrations with guard duty, checkpoint, contrast, cloud custody, and cloud strike, cyberark, FireEye. Like almost all the common products we do have integrations with. Now the third part of this console is management automations. If you want to create any rule, so see, we have seen how to create customer rule, but we do have some templates also. If you want to elevate the severity of findings that are related to some important resource, for example, there is one critical bucket. If you want to elevate its severity, then you can put all those data, all those criteria to perform that. Next action is custom action. You can click on create custom action, give the custom action, for example, stop instance. uh, then you can give the description, I will stop the instance if anything is compromised, and then give the any custom action id. Action id could be xyz, and give any custom action. Then you just have to go to the event bridge, and then you have to update it through that, and you can trigger anything from to do any kind of remediation. The last part of it is settings. If you want to disable it, if you want to like, it gives the description of the service role which security app uses to monitor your data. So you can see that. If you want to see the resource policy, you can do that as well. It mentions all of the product subscription and ARN. If you want to disable it, you can disable it from here. So to save the copy of existing findings, export, you have to disable that. So yeah, there is one yeah, if you want to aggregate the regions, for example, here there is no aggregated regions, findings will not be aggregated. You have to go to the particular region in order to see that security findings. Then you can decide the aggregator region. If you want to choose US East 1 as a, so there is only one option here. You can display all those findings, because see, I have use this North Virginia region. If I go to some other region, for example, Bombay, then aggregated region would be different. So this is one workshop created for me which only enables one region for me. But if you go to Bombay region, then you would be able to see here the Bombay region as a aggregated region. That means every finding from other region would come to this particular region security hub console. Then you can choose the available region. For example, if you're using the Mumbai one, you can select the Hyderabad one or Europe one. So just select all those things and save. That means from Hyderabad, from Milan, from Europe and Asia Pacific, those findings would come here in this console. So this is kind of a feature which gives you region aggregator, and then you can add the account as well if you want to be this account to be administrator account. You can add other account IDs. You just have to if you give this account ID, then from that account ID there, that particular administrator have to accept this integration when you add the member account. You can even upload the CSV file if you have multiple account IDs there. But if you have AWS organizations enabled, then you do not have to do that as well, because here when you send the membership invitation, that particular account has to accept that membership invitation. But if you have AWS organization integrated, then it will just enable security hub in all the accounts added to that AWS organization in form of CloudFormation template and all of that. So now usage, you under the usage you can see the like 30 days are a free trial. So you can see from the inspector 167 findings were there, and the billing of the security checks is this, like for first 1 lakh checks, it's 0.001 dollar 0.0010 per check. And for first one it's free under the 30 days period. Then this is the pricing. So as number of checks increases, the pricing would decrease. Under the what's new, it will give it you will land to the home page, and any new uh, enhancement in the security hub features, you can see that. For example, security hub recently launched 15 new security controls in reinvent, which is our yearly event. It will give you all the description, like what all things change. It will redirect you to the AWS documentation, where you can see the document history and what all checks were added. For example, was one check added which says Amazon Macy should be enabled. So this is new security control, and it will also give you the information like when it was launched and all of that. So these were the things you can do with Security Hub. Let's see if we have findings now. I guess we should be having findings now. Yeah. So when you go to the summary, you can even see see the findings by region also, because we have just linked it with two other regions, Europe and Hyderabad. But I haven't enabled anything in Europe and Hyderabad. There are no resources. That's why you can see there are zero findings from those region. But from the US North region, North Virginia region, which is my current region, you can see there are 12 critical findings, 64 high findings, 165 medium severity findings, 105 low severity findings. So yeah, it will show you. If you want to see region wise, you can just click on this linked region with the findings tab and click on that particular region. It will redirect to that. So in the linked region I just have one, so it's showing me the North Virginia one. If you had many, you would be able to see that. uh, it's not populated yet, but see, when you scroll down in summary page, you can see most common threat type. I can see the brute force kind of findings I'm getting regularly. I'm getting the Bitcoin tool uh, kind of findings. So these are the top most common threat type in my environment. You can just click on the view threat type. So click on particular thread type, it's showing from this account ID, from guard duty, it's highlighting it. So obviously we do have guard duty as a threat detection, so you would be able to see the product guard duty, which would be displaying the guard duty finding, like this particular instance is performing the brute force attack against some IP. Click on it, it will give you the view similarly of the guard duty one. When in the guard duty console, when you click on any finding in the description, so that's how you see it. So for example, you would be able to see the account ID, the severity, when it was updated, when it was created, the severity label. It will give you the source URL, which will redirect you to the guard duty page. And if you click on some others, it will redirect us to that page. So yeah, this brute force high severity findings we were getting. So when you click on the overview, it's giving you the count. As you know, in the guard duty console, we can see details like account ID, resource ID, what was the resource role. Actor means this particular EC2 instance is performing some kind of brute force against some IP. So if this was so there are two kind of resource role, actor or target. So if your instance, if your resource is target, it would display this kind of thread. So now you can see, like, secure through security hub, you can see the guard duty finding at a single console page. If you have integrated it, you in a single uh, you can say page, you would be able to see different regions issue, and then it will redirect you to the correct service, to the correct page, and then you can see the details of that particular thread in detail, of that particular finding in detail. So see, you can see the details like the port also, what was the resource type, the instance ID, what is the instance type, the instance status, like it's if somebody have taken action, if they have stopped the instance or not, if it's still running, what is the AD, what is the image ID, image description, launch time, everything you can get from this CAT console. So that redirection was done through the Finding Security Hub. And when you again go to the Security Hub console, then you can see details here as well in detail. For example, this particular resource tag is particular resource has these tags: logical IDs, tag name, cloud formation. So you can make the conclusion, okay, this particular resources was created from some cloud formation template, and if this is doing some issue, if there is some issue in this particular instance, there might be other instances which are being provisioned using this cloud formation one. So you have to investigate that. So these kind of capability this security hub provides. Yeah, so let's understand security standards in detail. So first one is AWS Foundational Security Best Practices version 1 on 1. So you can see here all those controls, and even you can just filter out those controls by severity. Select severity equal to high, so you can see for the high severity these are the problematic issues. Like there is one RSS certificate which is managed by ACM, should not use a key length of at least 2048 bits. So you just click on it and you can see like this was some config rule, and you can click on the finding JSON. It will give you all the information if you want to upload it, if you want to download it somewhere and put into some ticketing tool or that. And then if you think this is the control which you don't want to see, if it's not relevant for you, you can just click on this disable control, and then you just have to mention the reason of disabling, why you want to disable it. Not aligned to the risk threshold, maybe this is, see, it was a high severity one, but if there is some low severity one and you think this was some legit kind of activity you were doing, if you were doing some pen test or anything, then you can say this is not aligned to the risk threshold or not applicable to the environment. or if you are having any third party integration and this control is being displayed, then you can mention like there are alternative compensating controls in place. I do not want to have this control. So these kind of information, if you provide us while disabling, that will also give us the feedback, and for you, your team can decide what they want to have or not. Yeah, and it also gives you these resource details, as you can see on the screen, of account and all of that. And when you go to the second one, the standards and requirement, it's give you so here this particular control is related to foundational best practices. If there might be chances some controls are being common in every standard like PCI DSS and all of that. So then you can just see in under the standards and requirement, like this is the this particular check is required for what standard. So even if sometime you can see all three standards being displayed here. So this will give you the control like what all checks you are receiving, what all controls you want to have. Do you want to have all five controls or all five standards enabled or not? So see these are the five standards. So it will show you. I'm not sure why it's not giving you the result. Yeah, it's still evaluating that. So when's
Okay, before evaluating, can I take some questions? I have few questions from my side.
yeah, yeah, sure.
So we have a question from Mohammed on YouTube. How to use Security Hub for multiple accounts and centralized requirements?
Okay. So when you say how to use, do is the question is related to how to enable? Because in under the regions, like under the settings, there is one point regions, and you have to just mention like what all enabled, what all regions you need to enable and to integrate that into one aggregated region.
Okay. And can we use AWS organizations to deploy conditional or conditional security?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, if you have organizations, then this acceptance of membership account is not even required. So we have seen under the configuration like we have to send the invitation, but if you have via AWS organization, there is no request you need to send. Under the one organization you can enable it for every account, that can be done. But if you are not using the AWS organization, you just have to click on add accounts, give the account ID, the email address is just optional. Then you have to send the invitation and that particular member have to accept the invitation. Yeah.
Okay. We have another thing from Sankalp. How can we use Security Hub to improve security? As a studies, he asked AWS Foundation based on environment management.
Okay. Can you again repeat the question?
How to use Security Hub in DevSecOps?
Okay. So when we say how can we use, so for example, like if you are creating provisioning some resources either through Terraform or either through CloudFormation, there might be some AWS config rules you have to enable, or not even config rules. If you want to implement some kind of security controls on that, in form of, for example, AWS config rules, like this particular. If you may know the conformance pack, which are the kind of a sample security controls which says you do not have to open some ports, all kind of things. If for example if you enable guard duty also for some kind of obligations to be put for the developers, like when we say the security should start from the development itself. So we generally enable these services like guard duty for threat detection, config to put the rules, like the RSS certificate which is being put for the authentication should having some this kind of length. Those kind of application you just have to enable it using those other services, and then when you enable the security hub, it will just aggregate those findings into one console, and using this standard it can check it, uh, it can automate those checks and provide its own input to improve your security. So it totally depends what kind of obligations you want to put in the developer cycle. So but it's always recommended from AWS. Like always think of the shift left strategy from the application development part, along with putting CFN 2.0 guard and all of cloud formation hook. Enable these kind of threat detection services as well, so that you can get the high visibility what all threats are there in your like development cycle or CI/CD.
Okay, that's nice. Hooks and curves that helps a lot. So yeah, I think we are good right now with the questions. We can take it later in the day one conversation. Let's continue with
Yeah. So the for example, the question you ask. So when you enable this particular control, AWS foundational best practices, so it also sees like security group should not add unrestricted access to ports with high risk. So ports with high risk are 2280 and 389, all of those ports. So it can check for that. So for example, it can check for the security group, it can check through cloud formation if you have created some kind of infrastructure. So those kind of things you can easily check when you enable a security hub and other services which are integrated with security hub. So see, these were the config rules which were placed. So yeah, one more thing, when you click on any control it will give you the information why what all or what all things this checks. For example, this particular control checks whether the unrestricted incoming traffic from security group is accessible to these high risk specified ports like 3389, 2023, 1433 for any kind of database, RDP, SSH. So then by the description you can just decide if you want to keep this control or not, and if you want to check the remediation acts instructions to related to this particular check, you can just it will just redirect you to the AWS documentation, and it will give you the remediation like how to modify the security group. So that kind of detailed description is there in the service. So yeah, data of failed checks now you can see on my screen. Like these two checks were failed, these 8 checks were passed. Like there is no default security group being used. So this is kind of finding which was generated using the config rule. If you want to suppress any check, so for example, if I want to suppress this failed check which is not the best practice, you can do it from that. I am just suppressing the past check for now. Click on the action. Yeah, so when you click on the action, now you can see that custom action which I have created. So I have created one custom action stop instance. So when I go to the when I go to the security standards again, view the results, click on some check, for example, and then I can select it and I can take any action on it. For example, if I want to stop instance if anything was not there, then I can do that. Under the workflow status, it's same, like you can suppress it, you can resolve it. Once you suppress it, you would see this finding under here whenever the new finding would be generated, and it will show in the suppress check. So those kind of controls it provide. Yeah, the data is getting populated now. Yeah. uh, so it will give you the security score in term of percentage. So some people like this is not kind of a audit score, but these are the industry standards. So you can refer this score to gauge the security of your overall environment. For example, if you are from the management team and if you wanted to just check like does your team have all the things in place, then every standard would display some percentage score in it. It will also display some percentage of score related to particular best practices here as well, and it will give you like insights what all things you need to work on. So yeah, for example, some companies target to keep their score above 90% and work on the remediation plan. So you can see all of those things here. So meanwhile the score is getting updated. Let's see how can we create the custom action. So in the security console I just showed you, but then you have to now go on to the event bridge. Like you just explain, you just define stop instance one, but then you have to now create a rule and event bridge in order to take any action. So click define any rule name, stop instance for example, give the description stop instance. Then you just need to define these things, like either rule with event pattern. If any event matches, then you have to define an event pattern or on the schedule. So here you have to click on the event pattern, click on the next, then on the event, uh, just click on security hubs custom action. So here choose the AWS services. Here you can choose particular ARN also. Use pattern, security hub, event type, custom action, any custom action. Click on the specific one and stop instance. This ARN should match with the ARN, and click on the next, and click on the sorry, choose the target service. That could be lambda function. And then I do not have any function, but yet I do have some sample function. For example, enrich security finding. This is the one I'm choosing, and I'm clicking on next, create a rule. So I am yeah, so whenever this particular action you would click on, for example, if you click on this stop action, if you want to take any action, it will do those things. You have created a rule and description. We just selected the security of findings. In the event type you have chosen security of findings. You have specified the specified ARN, custom ARN action, which was stop instance in our case. And then you can select the target, which is lambda function from the drop down. But you have to define something in lambda, like stop instance. I have just selected a sample lambda function to show you like how you can take the action. So let's go to the security hub again. When you go to the security hub, when you will click on this particular finding, you just select it. Yeah, action stop instance. And when you click on this stop instance, now the particular lambda function which you have chosen from the drop down from the event bridge console will trigger. So that was some sample script, so I'm not triggering it, but you can try on your own. So go to lambda function, just try one 4 to 3 script to stop the instance, and then here under the custom actions, define that custom action. This action id is very necessary because we event bridge is taking this particular custom action id to do any action. So yeah, you can do that thing as well. Let's see if score has been updated. Yeah, so it made so that was the thing on my part, like I haven't enabled it before, so there are some guidelines in my organization we need to follow. I was not able to enable it, but you can just enable it, and if you wait for at least hour or two you will get those scores here on the summary page as well. And here also you would be able to see the score, and when you click on the view results, we just like discussed it earlier what all things are there, you can see from here. Any other questions related to this particular console you want to ask, you can just type, I will be able to take it.
Yes, thank you, Kirti. So, guys, if you have any questions, you can just type in your LinkedIn comments or YouTube comments, and we'll go there in the session.
Okay, I would give you some additional information. Like some checks here, the question could be like, when did this how did those checks under the security standard runs? For example, is this check a periodic check? So yes, these checks run on a periodic schedule, but there are also some checks which only run when there is any change to the resource state. For example, if there is some thing like EBS snapshot should not be publicable restore, like don't take this example, let's go to some other one. Yeah. mm, yes, ECS containers should not be run as non-privileged one. So this is the one thing. So for example, there are two kind of checks as I mentioned. Some checks run on the periodic schedule to just check if there are any containers which runs on the which runs on the privileged thing or not. But there are few checks which are which might be related to config service or not, but those checks only work when there is change of resource state. For example, if there is some elastic cache which is taking the automatic backup, then it's okay. If its state change, if they stop taking backup for some reason, then that particular check will be enabled, and then it will just check what happened and it will give you those findings. So many security checks uses config managed or custom rule to establish the compliance requirement. So to run those, you must set up AWS config, and other use lambda functions which are managed by Security Hub and may not be visible to you as a customer. So those checks run on not periodic basis, but when there is any change to the resource state. So that is the one additional information I can provide. So yeah, let me share you other screen how it can show. Yeah. So this was the workshop I created for you. So in this format, you would be able to see the security score. If you can see my screen, it will display the security score, under which you can find the information out of how many controls what many controls fail, like out of 8 9 controls 32 controls fail. It will also give you a chart legend, like what 47% fail severity was, like this is the critical one, this is the high severity, this is the medium severity, this is the low severity. So it will also give you this chart legend which will give the information. And there is also one thing which is unknown. So for example, there are some check but for which the data is not known, it will give it will be highlighted under this tab. All those past one, disabled one, no data would be highlighted there. Let me check if in my console I was able to get that uh, score yet or not. Unfortunately, no, but yeah. So here you can see like it's displaying the data, like out of 293 control, 220 controls were passed. So this is how you would be able to see the security score, and you can decide and you can give the mandate to your team, like at least kept this is the good price practices. You should solve all the failed checks, but some organization also follow that. They keep some standard, like you have to have 80% of security score in security hub should be maintained, and then you can take actions on that. So it will slowly also enable the security score of particular standards as well. But you can see overall under the summary I was able to get the score. Yeah. uh, when you go to the summary part, see, you can see the resource info with the most findings. For example, this particular S3 is having some critical severity, so you can see that under EC2 instances you can see this particular instances is having this many severities, this many findings, almost near to 33 I guess. Yeah. As we have integration with the inspector, you can see the software vulnerabilities on the scale, and you can also see if there is no fix available or if there is fix available. You can just view the findings. It will redirect you to the security hub page detail where all the findings are there, and now you can check the title and all the information. If there is fix enable, go to that particularly ID. It will redirect you to the information what uh, details of it are written, the platform, the name, the release date, and all of that, and then you can take action on it, and you can expand. You will get the resource. So yeah, you just need to hover around this particular console to see what all magic it can do. But this was all from my side. Let me know if you want to know anything more. I can provide answers to Vishal directly. And now the score are being displayed. You can see. So when I go to the particular security standards, it's giving the score, and on the summary page of the standards also you can see the particular score. Yeah, Vishal, over to you.
Yes, Kirti. So I have one question from my side. The workshop that you presented on screen, can we share the link of the workshop to attendees so they can try on their own?
Yes, I can do that. That is a publicly published one, so there is no issue on that. But to practice, you have to use your own AWS account. It may cost something, so just don't forget to disable all those things once you done with the practice or demo.
Yes, if you are on free tier account, it will add. If you finish
Yeah.
going to the link, it will
Yes. Yes.
forgot to disable or remove the
Yeah.
resources that you are paying for.
Yes. Yes. Just do not enable findings from any third party tools while we are practicing.
And we have one more question from Sachin. Can we enable custom actions? Are they automatically trigger, or does it require manual action for the custom
Manual
actions?
action. You just have to click on the findings, click on that particular finding, click on the action and take the action. It cannot be automated, right? You cannot take the same kind of action on all the resources. So you can just create it and you just have to select. For example, if you create 2 3 actions, then you will have choice to take particular action on particular finding. So this is the manual thing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. This is in hope that answers your question. If you have any further questions, you can add to comment or you can ask us on LinkedIn. Kirti will be able to answer you there as well. Next, we have one more question that is not related to this, but yeah, there are many questions actually. I'm just trying to figure out the related questions for this particular session.
Sure.
There is one question I can answer this. Currently learning AWS services. Till now, I have just completed EC2 and S3. After learning more, how should I approach? So, Sanket, though although this is not related to the security hub, I think you can go ahead and make your hands dirty with the AWS services. You can try with the end-to-end deployments for one of your projects that you are working on, and you can try to work on RDS, the basic deployment services, and you can go with the free tier account, try to explore the services that you have, and you will find some path where you can go with. You can go with the security approach for your applications. You can go with the DevSecOps pipelines. You can deploy your projects using code build and code pipeline on the AWS. And there are multiple services that you can explore. There is web application firewall. If you are using any kind of web application, you can use WAF to deploy those services as well. So I would suggest to go and make your hands dirty, explore the things, and make sure you are removing all the resources that you are creating after your POC kind of thing is completed. Okay.
And you can also target a simple certification like Cloud Associate to learn it in an organized way.
Right. So yeah, you can you can create a curriculum and plan for your study for your certification and go with the services, learn the services, basics of the services, and you need to have few other basics as well as like shell script or Linux commands in order to have good hands-on for these kind of AWS services as well. So try to explore the things, and once you are ready with the certification, you can just go with few of the test exams, and then you can appear for the exams on that. Yeah, I think we are good with the questions for today, Kirti. So let me check once if any other questions. Okay. I think yeah, we are good. So thank you once again, Kirti, for your participation in this AWS Security Week hosted by AWS User of Pune. Today's session was very good. People have liked it, and I can see from the many comments and many questions that people have received it very positively, and we have very good feedback from my candidate. So we appreciate your in-depth knowledge for delivering this comprehensive presentation. And Kirti, you have covered almost all the aspects of the security hub, and from the core functionalities and best practices for the secure use of the AWS Security Hub. The delivery of the content was really engaging, and your enthusiasm for this particular topic was very good. We really love that, and we'll hope to see you again for the uh, next next AWS User Group Pune's upcoming meetups and virtual engagements as well. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Sure. Thank.
Okay.
Uh,
And guys, let's wrap up for today. We have a session tomorrow. I'll post the links and the details of the speaker and session that will be again the new AWS security service that we'll be exploring with AWS user group Pune. So until then, bye bye and have a nice day ahead. Thank you.